Hey everybody, Lisa Salvatore here. Welcome to July. We are going to talk about the first half of July as we get up to the full moon in Capricorn that takes place on July 13th. So we have a big month ahead. July is powerful, extremely potent. There is a lot going on. So let's just get right into it. The start of the month, we're under Cancer season. And every time the sun is in Cancer, there's always a very strong emphasis on family, on our childhood, on our roots, on our security, our foundation. And it's also very sensitive and highly emotional. And we can often find ourselves very nostalgic when it comes to the Cancer energy, the Cancer season, bringing us back to childhood memories, bringing us back to those places and spaces that we may or may not be so comfortable going back into. However, this always tends to happen under Cancer energy, Cancer season. Cancer is the sign of the mother, it's the family, it's the womb, it's maternal energy, it's our safety and security systems that have been put in place for us by our family of origin, and then also our chosen family as we move on throughout our journey here. And all of this comes up under this energy, and it can feel very emotional, it can feel draining for some, it can feel liberating for others, but all in all, it is definitely an emotional time, a sensitive time of heightened awareness, heightened emotions. We see this playing out in the world, but also this is very personal. Now, Uranus, the planet Uranus, is very, very potent and will continue to be so as we move throughout the year, but particularly through the months of July and August. Today is July 1st and I'm recording this video. And Uranus is in Taurus. As of today, Uranus is at 17 degrees of Taurus. And Uranus is inching closer and closer to the North Node or the lunar node of destiny or fate, which is also in the sign of Taurus. The North Node and Uranus have been getting closer and closer together. And Uranus is the planet that rules over change, okay? And oftentimes shocking and disruptive change. But it's typically change that is necessary and needed. And with Uranus, we just never know what we're gonna get. And it does typically induce shakeups and shaky energy overall. And we even see this play out with the weather patterns. Uranus is earthquakes, volcanoes, of the like, of the emotional nature, and of course, potentially the physical nature. Uranus can be very shocking and it can shake things up and out, but ultimately with Uranus, it can also be like complete liberation and being broken free from a cage or from the own ties that bind us. And so you definitely want to look to where Taurus falls in your charts, because this is the area of your life that is going to be in high focus as we move on throughout the month of July. Now, this is a buildup of energy because at the end of July, July 31st to be exact, the North Node, Uranus, and Mars will all be at 18 Taurus, forming a triple conjunction. This is not an energy that is quick. It certainly can produce a quick result, but there is a buildup to this as well. And so again, look to where your chart has Taurus, because that is where this triple conjunction will take place. Now, for some, it might not be much of anything. For others, it may be more disruptive. You yourself could be the one instigating or precipitating the disruption, because with this energy comes this feeling of, I need to break away. I need to break free. I need to get out of here, whatever the here is. I need to break free from this mindset. I need to break free from this environment. I need to break free from this relationship. That is how Uranus works. It makes things feel unbelievably uncomfortable and overwhelming to the point that we just have to get out. And that could be a good thing dependent upon the situation. So the thing about Uranus is, like I said, it is shocking, it is change, it is disruptive, but ultimately when it settles down, it typically clears the path for us, and we see that this is where we needed to go all along. Now, furthering the energy of the future and of destiny is the fact that this conjunction involves the North Node in Taurus. And the North Node, or the lunar node of the moon, is a point of destiny, right? So collectively speaking, this speaks to where are we going as the collective, right? And Mars in Taurus is definitely pressing the button here. When Mars and Uranus come together by a hard aspect or a very close aspect, which a conjunction is a bit of both, what happens is it's an accident-prone or an accident-producing impulsive energy. Now, that doesn't mean that there will be an accident. It doesn't mean that. But what it means is it's an energy to be mindful of, and you've probably heard me talk about this several times, because It is powerful. It's electrifying, okay? Literally, be careful around electricity when Mars and Uranus are together like this. Be careful, extra careful when you're driving with Mars and Uranus, because it's a lot easier to make a mistake, a hasty mistake that costs you under this energy. Now, also, as it moves towards the end of the month, it's lining up with the North Node. So this is all, again, driven towards the future. So a little extra cautiousness, a little extra mindfulness. Do not live in fear. Do not be scared. But just know that this is the energy, and that the month of July, and I'm sure you're already feeling this, guys, is unsettled. Everywhere there's unrest that is taking place. It's just this energy of, what is going on? I don't feel like myself. When you go out there into the world, you're probably picking up on everybody else, and it just feels very uncomfortable and unsettling. This is where we are right now. So yeah, Uranus is being activated by Mars and by the North Node, and this is a big deal. And so I'll just remind you once again, check your chart. I've linked a video below. It's worth the 4 minutes to go through it and listen. And if you don't already know your placements, just to find these placements so that you can see where the potential for some big change is for you. What area of your life? What house does this conjunction fall in? Which house contains Taurus? That's where the conjunction is going to fall. And for you personally, you can see big change here. You can have big feelings here. You can be the instigator, the agent of that change, or outside circumstances, because we are dealing with the North Node. Outside circumstances may come in and dictate a situation that forces the change upon you. But either way, just be open to what the universe and the divine is trying to show you. It's likely something that you already know and just haven't been able to implement for yourself. Now, collectively speaking, there has been a buildup of tension for quite some time. There's a buildup of energy right now that is waiting to be released. The collective is fed up by the governmental control, fed up by the governmental structures, fed up with each other, frustrated at the environmental chaos, that's Uranus and Taurus. Antiquated laws, a shaky economy. This is everywhere. This is all over the world. People are rising up to the occasion. There is a massive collective frustration that is going on. Now, it's important to remember that Uranus also equals chaos and destruction and disruption. But Uranus also equals freedom and change and liberation and activism as the dust settles. The one thing I will always say about Uranus is it typically does leave you better than you're found, even though the process is often harrowing. Now, it is up to us how we use this energy, to use this energy wisely. And when we do that, we can move mountains both in our personal lives and on the collective level. One important way that we can do this is by taking care of ourselves and keeping our own personal vibes higher. So I would suggest, if you do not have a form of meditative practice, spiritual practice that you have cultivated by this point in your journey, I highly suggest that you begin to do that. Quiet meditation. If you don't get out and connect to nature, please do that. Walk barefoot in the grass, ground, put your hands through dirt, do gardening, back to basics, get away from the internet, get away from the news, be out there, okay? These are little things that raise your vibration. When we are constantly inundated with this stimuli of everything that's going on in the world, day in and day out, yes, I understand we cannot escape it. I understand that we cannot avoid it, and I am not telling you to do that. But what I am suggesting that you do is to be better able to roll with the punches of what is coming down the pipeline. And we all know you don't have to be a psychic or a scientist to understand that there is a lot at play here and a lot at stake. And so the only thing that we can control is this, what's in here. And a way of keeping our own personal frequency higher is by implementing these little things, taking care of the physical body, eliminating or at least reducing toxins and pollutants that we put into our body, that we bring into our home, and being much more creative about how we go about bringing things in for ourselves. And the food supply, for example, gardening, all of these things, Uranus and Taurus speaks to getting back to the earth, okay? Speaking of all of this, Pluto is very, very active right now. Pluto is in Capricorn, another earth sign, speaking to the earth. Pluto's retrograde as of the end of April. And Pluto is at the very last degrees, and we know when a planet gets to the last degrees, especially that 29th degree, the energy of that planet is extremely profound and pronounced. And Pluto by itself is profound, okay? It speaks to deep, cathartic transformation and change, the death of the old to make way for the new, the deconstruction to the reconstruction. This is all Pluto. Pluto's in Capricorn, currently retrograde, and we are under this energy of the Pluto return, which I've also linked a video that I recorded months back about the Pluto return. You may want to check that out. It is not an energy that's, again, like this. This is an energy that we've been under for the better part of almost 2 decades at this point, while Pluto's been in Capricorn. Unraveling the systems, unraveling the governmental structures, political and social unrest. This is what Capricorn rules over. And Pluto here is wiping the slate clean, slowly, but wiping the slate clean. And it feels very destructive because it is. But this has been going on for a long time. It's just that 2020 amplified everything because the noise stopped for a time and it became so painstakingly obvious how much trouble we were in as a nation. So anyway, check out that video. You check out other readings and writings on the Pluto return. You'll catch a lot of knowledge that way, but I'm not going to go into all of that here. But I will say, Pluto is in the last degrees of Capricorn. Pluto is retrograde right now. And on July 11th, in the midst of this mix of chaos of the month of July 11th, Pluto is going to retrograde back to the exact location, which is what the Pluto return is. The Pluto return is basically the birth chart for the United States of America, otherwise known as the Sibley chart. And in the birth chart for the United States of America, Pluto was retrograde at 27 degrees and 33 minutes of Capricorn in the Sibley chart, which is the birth chart for the United States of America. On February 20th, Pluto went back to that exact degree, and that is where we experienced officially the Pluto return. But again, it's an energy that we have been under, okay? Now, Pluto has since then moved very slowly, and now is retrograde and is going to retrograde back to that exact point again, the 2733, again on July the 11th, okay? So again, I don't know that it's going to be that day that we see a lot of pandemonium, but we're already experiencing it. It's the time that we are under. So this just simply puts meaning to a lot of what is going on. And this Pluto retrograde is going to be activated by the Sun in Cancer, by an exact opposition actually, on July 19th, okay? Now, July 19th is also the same day that Chiron stations retrograde, and I'm gonna talk about that in a moment. But with this comes a real potential for healing, emotionally, physically, spiritually, on every single level. But we must be strong enough, we must be confident enough to take that trip into the underworld of Pluto, because that's what Pluto is. He is the lord of the underworld, okay? And so this is what this time period asks of us. So when people say, what does it mean to do shadow work, to work with your shadow? Pluto, this is it, your personal shadow work. We are under Cancer season. This is the deep ingrained patterns and wounds that we carry with us from childhood and from previous lifetimes. That is the stuff that we do not always feel comfortable going into. But it is precisely at these times under this energy that we're being called in to do just that. Now that's personal and that's also collective. It's all about getting to the heart of the matter on every single level and being able to transcend a bit and let go of control and allow ourselves to live the life we truly want to live for ourselves. Now, I mentioned that there's a big focus this month on emotional healing and working with the shadow energy. Now, as we move throughout the month, the Sun in Cancer is going to move closer and closer into a clashing aspect with Chiron in Aries, square aspect, and then Mercury will do the same. So basically, from July 8th through the 13th, this will be felt the strongest. And dependent upon how sensitive you are, you're probably feeling this already. But this feels like a bit of an identity crisis. And it's going to be more and more strongly felt as we move on throughout the month and we get to the 19th when Chiron stations retrograde. And then we really go back and dig into it. Why is this the way it is? Why am I the way I am? Why am I feeling this? And again, this brings us back to the roots. This brings us back to our ancestry. This brings us back to our lineage. Dig into that and see where things go, how they fit in, and how you can transcend this karma for yourself. You don't have to carry it with you. There always has to be somebody in the lineage that breaks it, okay? And I won't go off into that whole tangent because that's all karma based and that has a lot to do with astrology, but there is always going to be someone who breaks the pattern or who works really hard to break the pattern or to switch the system. And the month of July will be the month that this will be strongly felt or recognized. So basically, while the sun is in the sign of Cancer, think of it as the sun's rays are shining its light down onto the wounds that we have deep inside that we maybe keep pushing away, or we don't want to look at them right now, or there's too much else going on. I'll deal with this when I deal with it, whatever. However that works for you. It's going to feel more and more difficult to ignore that. That's what this basically means. You certainly can, but it's probably wiser to dig into it. And I will always recommend one of my absolute favorite books for anyone that's looking to dig more into shadow work, and it's called Bringing Your Shadow Out of the Dark by Robert Augustus Masters. I will actually link that book below. I have referred that to so many people, and they all come back and say that it's helped them tremendously, okay? So I highly suggest that book if you're thinking, well, how do I do shadow work? How do I dig into this stuff? That's a really good place to start. There can be many light bulb moments this month that serve to break you open emotionally. Let yourself cry, let yourself feel. That is what Cancer is all about. We cannot heal what we will not feel, right? Now, another huge theme under this energy for the month of July, especially when as we're dealing with the Uranus-Mars North Node triple conjunction, there's a huge emphasis on the release of patterns, relationships, situations, jobs, all of these things that are no longer serving our soul and that are actually detrimental to us at the soul level, things that we don't necessarily think we can do away with, or they feel too uncomfortable and difficult to do away with. This is the energy of breaking through that stagnancy, clearing our lives of those stagnant energies that we no longer feel are right for us, or that we know are not right for us, I should say. The universe, the divine, is instigating us profoundly to release what is not serving us. In particular, the old, outdated family stories and structures that are keeping us stuck or locked into an insecure place that we don't need to be any longer. The stories that we tell ourselves or that we believe that no longer serve to nurture us, that's all gonna be pushed out. That's what this energy is promoting. And then we reach the climax where we get to our full moon in Capricorn that takes place on July 13th, okay? And so at this point, if you are feeling pulled in a million different directions, congratulations, because that's exactly the way you're supposed to feel. It is normal to feel this way. What I can say is that with a full moon in Capricorn, Capricorn is an earth sign, so there is a sense of grounding and support that does come in around this full moon, but it is definitely intense and there's a lot of strong energy here. So this full moon takes place on July 13th at 2:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at 21 degrees and 21 minutes of Capricorn. Challenge yourself not to disconnect at this full moon, okay? There's going to be a lot of energy and emotion present. It's going to feel very heightened and enhanced with everything else that is going on. And so it's almost like challenge yourself to truly be in the feelings, truly be there. And ask yourself, what's conditional versus unconditional in my life, in my heart? Where is the love? And go in that direction. Now, this full moon is basically activating every planet in the sky around this lunation, okay? So it's going to feel really, I don't know how else to say it, emotionally intense and deep. Let me pull up the chart. All right, so here we have our Capricorn full moon, July 13th, 2022, 2:38 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, so when we have a full moon, it is when the sun and the moon are exactly opposite each other in the sky, and this is also a supermoon. It's actually the closest supermoon that we have had, which means supermoon basically means it's the closest to the Earth. The gravitational pull is the strongest, so it is that much more strongly felt, okay? So that is also furthering to intensify this energy. And the grounding component becomes very enhanced here. So remember what we say about grounding, right? Get outside, walk barefoot in the grass, connect, sit against a tree, be out in the earth, be out in nature. That is, Capricorn's an earth sign. That will help you ground yourself under these intense energies if you are feeling that way, that you need to do so. And even if you don't, it's wise to do these practices to help yourself, to keep you in your center. Okay, so before I dig into this, I do want to stress one very positive thing here, that is the most positive thing that I could find in this full moon chart, is that we have a grand water trine, which is a very nice aspect between the sun over here at 21 degrees of Cancer, Mercury here at 21 degrees of Cancer, Ceres at 25 Cancer. Remember, Ceres is the great mother, the nurturer. She's also the goddess of grains, crops, and agriculture. She's also involved in this grand water trine. Neptune down here at 25 degrees of Pisces, and Juno at 21 degrees of Pisces. Juno is the asteroid of the partner, the spouse, the characteristics of these people in our lives. It doesn't have to be so literal, but also Juno can represent where we feel betrayed, where there's been a betrayal toward us in our lives, or where we could be the betrayer. So anyway, this activation is actually very helpful for the free flowing of emotion. It's also strongly supported by the nodal axis, the south node in Scorpio and the north node over here in Taurus, which again speaks to releasing the psychological stuff that drains us and moving towards the safety of understanding that we can still feel comfortable and that our traumas do not define us. Our dramas do not define us, okay? No matter how large or small, there's a release energy here. So again, through all this emotion, it's a free flow. There is something that comes out of that that's very cathartic. Furthering the cathartic theme is that this full moon the moon is conjunct Pluto, powerful Pluto at 27 right here, conjunct the moon. Again, moon conjunct Pluto, I feel like a broken record, brings up an intensity of emotion. It brings up heat. It brings up power. Pluto is power. The moon is emotion. The moon also rules over the people. So Pluto, power and control, is retrograde in Capricorn. Capricorn's the government. The moon is the people, represents the people. So yeah, there's a lot of unrest going on, and there's a lot of people standing up, rising up. We're still dealing with a square to Eris over here at 25. Eris wants to be heard. Eris wants everybody to have their voice and to be able to fight for what is right and for what is just and for what is fair. So let's think, protesting. Hello, I mean, we don't need astrology right now to tell us, but this is quite literal as to what we are experiencing here on the world stage. Now again, this also is going to be taking place for you in your personal life in some form or fashion. Now, positively speaking, there's a lot of creative energy present around this full moon. So if you do creative work, great time for that. You may feel confused everywhere else in your life, but if you can channel the emotion and channel the energy into your work, great, awesome energy for this. We have Neptune here in Pisces, and it's squaring Venus in Gemini. Neptune is also sextile the moon and trine the sun, which is supportive. Oh, and it's also in a trine to Ceres. So again, this is like where we nurture others, where others nurture us. We can find those people that make us feel seen, heard, and supported. And likewise, we can be that person for others as well. And this can be really emphasized around this time. We've also got Chiron here, not really activated by the full moon energy, but it is present because Chiron is going to station retrograde on July the 19th, okay? And Chiron is pretty close to Eris. So again, just another indication that our wounds, our emotional wounds can really be exacerbated at this point. And with Chiron, I always use the analogy of where it's like the salt being poured on the open wound and we forget that it's there because it starts to close up a little bit and we're like, okay, it doesn't really hurt so much. And then somebody comes and puts a little bit of salt on that wound and oof, it just breaks it right back open. That's this energy. So have I mentioned that it's an emotional time, that July is a powerful, potent month with strong potential for healing, but it's also a lot of potential for unrest and distress and chaos. So be very, very mindful of your surroundings at all times. You should always do that anyway. But as we move on throughout the month, use your spidey senses to alert you to when something is not right, to when something does not feel right. We all have intuition, okay? All of us do. We typically feel it first before we can cognitively even pick it up, but it's there. So make sure that you are paying very close attention to not only what is being said, but what also is not being said. And by more importantly, what you feel every step of the way. Again, hot-headed energy, volatile energy with the Mars-Uranus meeting up with the North Node at the end of the month. It also has the potential to be really, really good and break you free somewhere, somehow, something that needs to be broken free of. And only you will know how that applies for you. And again, check your chart, see where Taurus is. That can help you get a better idea. Another thing with Uranus being so strong and so present, the weather patterns have been crazy, but also the food supply. And we know there's things going on with that. So do little things that you can do to make a difference, not only for yourself, but for others. Grow your own food, plant a little garden, get a tower garden, lettuce grow. Things like that are very, very helpful so that you don't spin out if there comes a point where you can't get something that you need or want. Or make sure you have some dry foods, rice, beans, peanut butter, little things that just in case something happens, just in case things go off the grid, you have something and you're not freaking out that you don't have anything. So it's better to be safe than sorry. It's always better to be prepared. It's not for fear mongering. It's just reality right now, guys. We're under volatile times. They will get better. It will take some time. But right now we are in it. This is where we are. And this is the best that we can do to deal with this energy, is what we can do for ourselves. So take really good care of yourselves. I do private consultations. I am going to be opening the calendar back up a little bit because a lot of inquiries have been coming in and I'm pretty booked out. So I think I'm going to open it up as my schedule allows. So check back if you go on there and you don't want to wait or it's too long. Just keep checking back because I do add dates. I don't really do a wait list because it's too much to follow that and whatever. So it's easier for you to just check back the calendar because I do update it periodically, and you will likely find a spot that works for you. And you do have the ability to change your appointments as well. So if you do book something far out and then you see something sooner, you can actually do it yourself. Technology. So this is really the first half of July up until that full moon. I will come back and do the second half and talk much more about that Uranus-Mars North Node conjunction because it is extremely significant. But I wanted to bring it into this video because it's already in effect. So you probably, when you check your chart or if you know your chart and you understand where that conjunction is going to hit, I bet you will already feel the rumblings of this conjunction. So anyway, let me know if that is how it is for you or where this is going to occur for you. You can comment below. And don't forget, check out the little tutorial on how to pull up your chart quickly and find these placements. Also, the Pluto return video is linked below as well. Take really good care, guys. Bye.